premio de más mejorando. Te voy a decir por qué. Primero, yo he mejorado en la matemática. Puedo resolver muchos problemas de sumar y restar. También yo he mejorado en mi lectura. Yo aprendo mucho haciendo Daily Five. Finalmente, yo presto mejor atención a la maestra. Puedo participar más ahora. Yo he mejorado mucho en el segundo grado y en la casa con mi mamá. Gracias por escuchar.
What did you say? Cover everybody? What's yours? All right. Tell us who you are.
I'm Michael Lee. So when I first came to Hawthorn Middle North, I was a kid who had never been to an American school before, did not know anyone, and had no friends. My English was decent, but I had never taken a formal language arts or English class in my life. I've made many improvements throughout my 3 years at Hawthorn, and I would be a good candidate to receive the David Yamtu Hawthorn's Most Improved Student Award because I've improved my English, math greatly. I learned many social skills, and I also improved at many things, including sports, music, and academics. I had to take a test to see if I had to take an ESL class at school. I was very awkward at calling adults Mr. or Miss. I passed the test and took the regular English class. I was still awkward and was very shy around people that I didn't know. But now I am somewhat outgoing and enjoy to socialize. When I took my first reading math test, I got a score in the low 220s, but now in 8th grade, my score is 249. I also struggled a bit in math because up to 6th grade, I had taken every class in another language, including math. So sometimes I had no idea what the teacher was talking about until I realized that I had learned a topic in another language. Now I am proud to say that I am in the advanced math class. Before I came to America, I did not have a smartphone or any kind of social media, which makes it hard to fit in today's world. I didn't know what the fad was, but I eventually figured it out, and it was easier to understand what everyone was talking about. Not only did I improve in English and social skills, I also improved in sports, music, and other academics. Back where I used to live, we only had physical education 45 minutes a week and sometimes no physical education class because of weather. But having gym every day at Hawthorn was a real surprise to me. There was also no music program where I came from, so when I learned that I was to play every day, I became very excited and looked forward to my class. As I began to get better at English, I got better at everything else. Thank you.
You ready for the board meeting, Mr. Superintendent? I apologize for running, but that was for the kids.
It was a great show.
It was a great show.
Nice job. It's a little story.
Yeah, yeah. You're not present, huh?
Call the meeting to order. Everybody please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag, the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can we have the attendance, please?
Jason Tron.
Here.
Julie Simpson.
Here.
Jeff Bard.
Here.
Robin Cleek. Here. Wes Poland. Here. Matt Jacobs.
Here.
Sonali Patel.
Here. 7 present, 0 absent. First, we'll do the recognition for the most improved students.
Thank you, Dr. Joe, for
Again,
coming.
Thank you for having us. It's always look forward and great pleasure. And we're going to start if you ask Madam President to join us to help. Would you please? And we have 4 things to give, so maybe Mr. Brown would also join us.
Happy to.
And my wife, of course. My wife gives the book. I give the check. You give the certificate. And you got your own book. So, Mr. Brown, you want to give this book? One of them we keep for me, and this is. Yeah, you can get the books, and I'll work with you on the certificate. And we're going to start at the 8th grade, middle school north. So if the building principal or teacher, middle school north. Covered. Why don't you just tell them who they are and just call them?
Michael Lee.
You get the check. Now, one condition, if you don't have saving account, you're going to open one. You have a saving account? You're going to have one, right? All right, I like that. Would you shake hand with Mrs. Yamtu? Shake hand with Madam President? And shake hand with Superintendent? And thank you, Robert. Shake hand with all board members?
First one's always.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Another Lee, huh? How come 8th graders got only Lee name?
We're very excited to recognize Julia Lee. Congratulations.
You can't save the check. You gotta open a saving account and put it in the account. Give it to Mom. Aspen, we got 2. Aspen.
Congratulations.
Good job. Second grade. We're very excited to recognize Diego Lopez.
Shake hand with Ms. Young to get a book. Shake hand with Madam President. Shake hand with with Superintendent and all board members.
And in 5th grade, we're happy to recognize Ashley Machuro.
All right.
Congratulations, dude.
Nice job.
No! Open a saving account for your college, right? Yes. Timeline.
They don't know what resilience is.
Check.
I know you gotta tell them that. I know that.
I am very proud to announce Vera Alvis, most improved award for 2nd grade.
Congratulations.
Good job.
This is a check. What are you going to do with the check?
Bunny clothes.
Okay. Put it in the back for your college. You look beautiful. Why, no.
And also, taught my 5th grader, Jacqueline Glazer.
You're just gonna get this video.
Congratulations.
Dry, but there's nothing in it.
Congrats. What's your favorite store?
Saving college. I like that. Hey.
Of course. Choice.
Congrats.
Great job.
Do language?
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Nice job.
What do you have?
So my pleasure to congratulate and recognize Yareli Solache Cuenca.
For the other one. Yeah, okay. That's a check for what? Did you give her a
Don't blame him.
We give it back.
Jocelyn.
And for fifth grade, we'd like to recognize
Congratulations.
Jocelyn Barla.
Saving account. Elementary South.
Congratulations.
We are so excited
Like that firm hand.
to congratulate Satyendra Kumarasamy.
So cute.
You want to check? Yeah. Shake hand with her. The other hand. Yeah, get books. She gets a certificate.
And our first fifth grade recipient, also so proud of him, Victor Camacho.
Congratulations. Congrats.
Great job.
Congratulations.
You got more stuff there?
Just. Victor, check for. Seven. I like that. And the elementary north.
And she's not here tonight, but we're thrilled to announce Yareli Boyas, who could not be with us here tonight. And second
Congrats.
And our fifth grader, Felix Navarrete. You can come this way.
Take this one. Here is check for your college. I think that's it. Let's give them all a big hand.
Congratulations on the seat.
And, I have extra books. I'd be happy to hand out anybody wants.
Robin, getting this tonight.
Go outside and she'll be happy to sign it.
You want it?
Outside.
There's a group picture outside with all the students and Dr. Joe.
How are you?
A little early.
Good seeing you.
Great seeing you.
Thanks. That's just Purell, don't worry.
Yes.
Thank
Thank you, Dr.
Good seeing you again.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right.
I'm good. I've built up a strong resistance. That's
I don't know if you'd be able to reach up and shake your hand. Did you just see your eyes?
Yes, on couple of
Fist
them.
bumps are easier. You just
Yeah.
anything else.
Okay, I'm not gonna be able to get into this. Thanks. Never
For those of you taking pictures, if you
I
would,
saw the name and I googled it to make sure.
just it kind of moves them along. Because I see some talking, I don't know if they know they have pictures.
See you next year.
Yes.
Thank you. You can take a group picture outside. And all of you are more than welcome to come and hear us go to the rest of the meeting, but I do understand if you want to get back to dinner and other things. This is a committee of the whole. Anybody from the public wishes to comment? Going once, twice. Okay. We have some discussion items. The first one is the 2017-2018 prevailing wages. This is a required process by the law.
Yes, it is required that each year we advertise our prevailing wages and per state law in the local newspaper as a legal notice, and included in the packet is a model ordinance indicating the school code referenced in the Prevailing Wage Act. It will need to be signed by the president and the board secretary, indicating that we did discuss it at this meeting. It lists the prevailing wages for workers that we contract with. If we were to contract directly with an employee, we would need to pay the prevailing wage, as well as their insurance and pension requirements. So those are listed in the packet and will be approved tonight. Any general trades that we deal with, that we contract with for summer work would need to fall under this, and we ensure that, and they are required by law to provide their certified payroll records to the county in order to work with the public entities. Happy to answer any questions regarding prevailing wage at this time.
Anybody? This open for discussion? No? The next item is staffing for the 2017-2018 school year.
Yes, you've received outline of staffing positions that we predict will be needing. The first part of the notes was listing current positions if somebody had retired or left and replacing them if it's been filled or not. The second portion listed several positions that I would ask if I could have consensus from the board to post as anticipated. Anticipated means we can post them up, advertise it, start collecting resumes, things of that sort. On the 22nd, I'll be asking for formal board approval for those positions, and if there's a decision between this point and that point that maybe there's the board not want to approve a position, we would just take that posting down and then proceed. I've tried to outline the positions, and I'll do a brief outline here for you. Fifth grade at Elementary North, bilingual class. It's a continuation of the program we've had going there, and so it fulfills that program as they get ready to go into middle school. Middle School South needs an additional PE teacher. They have classes in the high 30s into the 40s because of just the enrollment numbers. We need a half art for Elementary North and Aspen and a half music for Elementary North and Aspen, and that is due to sections. We share positions sometimes, so if a section's increased and we share positions, we need those to fulfill those sections. Under the special ed department, we need one LBS one that would be just a special ed teacher. We need one of those at Town Line. Currently, the schedule is full. Several things impact the ability for teachers to meet students' needs. Some of it is the number of students, the severity of what their needs might be in special ed, but also the schedule and how we try to get to them. So we need to add one LBS one at Town Line so we can fulfill the needs of the students and also meet our contractual obligations to the teachers to give them the required prep time. Middle School South needs 2.5 LBS ones, one of them being an LOP. There are 3 grade levels in LOP. We've been servicing those grades with 2. I'd like to increase that to 3 to meet their needs, and also that will help us progress to some plans in the future, possibly moving LOP into North. They go from Elementary North, go to Middle North, and that is a plan down the road. We need a half-time LBS resource to help meet minutes, and we need a full-time LBS resource also to meet the incoming 6th grade. We have large numbers coming in, and some of the IEP minutes there. Elementary South needs an additional LBS one, another special ed teacher to help with the IEPs, and also we're trying to become more inclusionary in both the middle and in the elementaries, where the students are serviced within the general ed classrooms as much as possible, the least restrictive environment. And to do that, we need some folks to help there. And then Elementary North, we need an additional LOP as the numbers to meet the needs of the students as we're going through that. There is an OT. We need one full OT. There's a note in there, it's paid for out of the special ed grant, so it's no addition to the budget. And we can't pay all of our special ed positions out of the grant. It's not a huge grant of all things, but there are some taxes or federal dollars that would have to be paid. So for each position, then you have a certain percentage that needs to be paid, and you start reducing the amount of dollars actually go to students. I don't know.
Yeah, we pay a penalty for each employee we pay out of federal funded dollars to TRS. It's in the neighborhood of 40% this coming year. So we try to avoid paying teachers out of federal funds as much as we can and utilize those dollars elsewhere. Here we spend a lot of those dollars on teacher development, staff development, as well as assistants, which aren't in TRS, in order to utilize those funds in a better method than paying a penalty.
We also need an additional special education aide for dual language, and that would also be taken out of the grant. Those are the positions I'd like consensus to post, and then answer any questions you may have either now if I can or by the 22nd, so we can collect those. Those are the positions we're very confident we need to meet our student needs. I did list several other positions that are anticipated possibly. We call them contingencies. Brad is working on the budget. These positions are being built into the budget and because we feel there'll be some needs, so I'd just like to outline those. These are fluid that they could change depending on enrollment. I sent a note to you about bilingual requirements changing the requirement to not receive your bilingual or ELL category has increased. So we're going to have more students that still would be within that requiring services. So if that number really ballooned or we had a large number of students moving in, that might require more bilingual teachers. But this is what I think we're going to need at this point. I'm not asking for permission to post these. We would want to wait, and I would suggest probably around July 14th is where we'd make some decisions on some of these to see the move-ins and move-outs. I believe we might need an additional, special ed teacher at Middle School North to help become more inclusive and meet some of those needs. At this time, Aspen Elementary, I believe we'll need possibly 2 general ed teachers, depending on how the enrollment goes. They have a large 3rd grade that added students in the year, and you generally didn't break classrooms up, but we think that we may need that. We're watching to see if who moves in and who moves out. That particular grade, what always happens is that class that's right on the bubble or close, nobody moves out, but people move in. We do have some information that we've collected from our letters coming back. That particular class hasn't indicated anybody moving out, but I do think that that will be needed. I also think there's a potential, that we would need to increase in the 5th grade as well. It's a rather large number. Now, I do have some students moving out, but we would want to see who moves in. Elementary South, we believe we might need 1. Our current kindergarten is right on that number, 125 for 5 sections. We do have information from folks that 3 or 4 of them are moving out, but we generally add students through the year. And so that is one that when they go from kindergarten to 1st grade, there's a good likelihood that would need to have an additional teacher in it. I'd like to wait to see the enrollment patterns, but I believe that's going to need a class. Middle School South may need an additional general ed teacher with the incoming 6th grade being rather large. The technology department, we're adding over 1,500 devices into a 1-to-1 setting. I believe we may need an additional tech in the district to help service that and make that a smooth operation. And then I've put in there 1 additional bilingual teacher, depending on how those scores come back and who moves in. So those are guesses. I would just inform you that those are being built into the budget, that you'll be presented later on as we go through the summer to meet those needs. Those could change potentially if we had no need for an addition in bilingual. We wouldn't hire or post for that position, and we wouldn't just create a position if not needed. If it turned out we didn't need but 3 of those, we would only use 3 of those. But if we need them, we try to build them in the budget to answer those questions. So that is the general outline of what we're looking for as we're coming to the school year. And it's been a pretty dynamic process. Lynn Barkley goes out and meets with the principals and the staff, find out what they think they need. Then we meet as an administrative team and start to prioritize. Then I have conversations with the principals and the department heads and try to get it down to what do we actually think we're confident we know we're going to need. And then we get to this position. I don't know if there are any questions at this time that I can answer, or if you have any questions, you email those to me. I'll answer them out to the rest of the board before the next meeting.
I have one question. So for the contingent one, you're saying July 14th is somewhat of the date that you're targeting to make a decision. How does waiting impact our ability to attract quality staff?
Well, if you'll notice, the LBS ones, I'm asking for consensus to post.
Yeah, so I'm talking about the one that you're not going to post.
Right. And the reason is LBS ones are much harder to get.
Okay.
General ed teachers, we generally will get 200-300 applicants for a lot of our positions. Right now is the best time to go find some of those right now. It's very competitive, but we know we have high-quality pools out there regularly to look for. So if I was 100% confident that I needed that position right now, I would take it off contingency and ask for the consensus piece. But we should have plenty of applicants for that position at that time. We'll put it up into let me post it as anticipated and at least start the process.
For anticipated, we'll approve it next time. Yeah?
Well, if I can just get permission on a consensus to post the anticipated, you'll do formal final approval on the 22nd that these positions are created, and then we could continue with the hiring process and hire them.
So,
Not really a vote as much as long as everybody understands I'm going to post them anticipated. We will not hire or fulfill that process until the board formally approves those initial positions on the 22nd. And then we'll go from there.
okay.
All right?
Want to know the answer now? Do we do it later? You're just asking how the procedure works.
I think we could just ask now if the board has consent. It's not really a vote, it's just they understand that it's not creating the position, but it allows me to start the process to collect the resumes. It's a little competitive, so once I put it out there, people will know, oh, I want to come to Hawthorne, they put it in, and then we can go from there. And they understand when it says anticipated, it's not a created position yet. They understand that part.
So do we have a consensus for anticipated?
Yep. For me.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Verbal.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
verbal.
So
Then just a verbal,
verbal?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. 7 ayes, 0 nays. Thank you, Wendy. The next one, that discussion item is the Press 94. So the Press is a policy reference education subscription service which is provided to us by IASB in the development of our policies. In the packet that you got, there are suggested and required revisions and new policies that take place. Amongst the ones that I think that are important and should be looked into so that we can discuss them at next time is policy number 3-70.
yeah, I
Okay.
believe so.
3-70, which is succession of authority. This is a succession plan submitted by the superintendent. This does not need an approval, but it is board's discretion if we want to do it or not. So it will be up for discussion the next time for the May 22nd meeting. The policy for 4-15, which is an identity protection policy. This is a policy for personal information of students as well as employees, including social security numbers, and the disclosure for the breach of security and how the reporting happens. This has to be done with the consultation of a board attorney. So we will go over that later. And
Excuse me, I'm
Sorry.
I did forward that to the board attorney and asked them to review that and have not received feedback just yet. So we'll have that before the meeting.
And the last policy, which I think everybody should look into, is the 7-1, which is the students' health, eye, and dental examinations. There is beginning 2017-18. It is a requirement that age-appropriate developmental screening and age-appropriate social and emotional screenings are required parts of each health examination. And we have been provided some options of whether we want to include them in our policy or not. So we'll discuss it next time and we can decide which option. The options are given in the packet, or we want to do nothing. That is also an option too, but we could decide that. So these are the 3 things that I thought were important enough to go through for next time for discussion.
And for our new board members, please feel free as you read those to either email me or call me. And if you send a question, I'll copy the question and answer it back out to the rest of the board. But don't hesitate to ask if there's a question on the process or about one of the policy revisions.
The next item is the CDOL representative. Wendy was kind enough to send us the agenda for CDOL so we could take a look at it. Do I have volunteers at this time? We can have 1 volunteer and 1 backup because life happens. So, there are 4 meetings in a year. Most of them are at Gages Lake. Sometimes they move it to before an IASP dinner or a meeting, just for the convenience sake so that more people can attend it. There are sometimes when a quorum is essential and they can't vote. So if you are a representative of CEDAW and you cannot make it, please tell your backup or let me or Nick know. So one of us is there because otherwise they cannot vote or make decisions because they don't meet the quorum. So do I have volunteers?
Backup.
Okay, great. Any volunteers? Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. It's Matt and Robin as a backup, and you guys can split it up, or just like I said, we just want to make sure that we are not the reason they couldn't vote.
I can reach out to Gita and let her know you volunteered so you guys can connect, get familiar with.
Discussion items, paper bid.
Yes. Brought the paper bid to the last board meeting. We annually purchase our paper in bulk by the truckload. Comes around and delivers in June to all of our schools by the pallet. We bring a skid steer and take the paper off. This year's bid, low bidder, is provided to you. It's Vertiv, or Contract Paper Group, I'm sorry, at $52,338 or $21.45 a case for 2,440 cases. This includes cases on behalf of Oak Grove, District 68. They have 280 cases, and they'll reimburse us for that amount when our bill comes.
Any questions, any discussion?
Are we using any less paper?
I'm sad
Always
to
a good
report
question.
that we are not using any less paper. We're using a very similar amount of paper than we have over the last 5 years. It's we keep trying.
But I have a prediction.
Uh-huh.
Next year at the middle school level, I think we'll show significant decreases because of the 1-1 personalized learning. That is something from the research. It shows when a whole district does it, that really drops off. But we'll see how that works, and then it should hopefully.
We also have our, we will be due for a copier contract renewal towards the end of the 2017. When we install those copiers, it would be my recommendation that we look at putting some controls on there to monitor copies, which will help us track where the copies are going and how many
Who's
each
copying?
person is, who's copying, and
Print out the
allow us to better
violators.
control the copiers a little bit. So,
Code you have to put on there.
little Big Brother never hurt anybody.
Keep in mind that if it's been staying relatively stable while the district's been growing, it's less paper per capita.
That is true.
Yes.
That's
So-
a good point. That is a good point. If we've added 700 students and it's stable,
right.
we're actually seeing a reduction per student. It's still a little higher than we'd all like to.
14 million is high?
Oh, you've already done the calculations. I like that.
When is our copier contract?
December is when the copier contract is up. So Dimitri is working with a company to kind of look at our usage and positioning of copiers before we look at putting a bid document.
Next item is 2017-18 enrollment projections and impact.
Yes, we, in previous board meetings, have had the conversation about potential of making an adjustment between Elementary South and Aspen, trying to help with numbers. There are two numbers to look at Elementary South, total enrollment and then number of classroom sections. One of the questions previously asked was how could we reduce Elementary South enough so no more PE went to Aspen? That was 6 sections, about 150 students. So what happened would, if we were to move that many students, it would increase Aspen's enrollment above South, and you transfer the problem. The other, then, we've looked at multiple ways. Both principals and I have sat down and looked at this multiple ways. How can you balance this to help reduce some of the stress at Elementary South and not cause overstress at Aspen? And in working with both of them, all three of us have come to the conclusion that we have a bubble class leaving Elementary South in 5th grade. We anticipate 125 kindergartners at the top coming in. That 21 difference puts Elementary South starting next year at the enrollment it started at this year, right around that number. Elementary South, after looking at some numbers the last couple of years, they grow roughly between 2 to 3% through the year. Meaning they may gain 50 students, but they might lose 25 students. So when you look at the actual total enrollment, they gain about somewhere between 2 to 3% through the year, and we anticipate that would continue. So if we're starting around 755 and you look at 3%, it's roughly around 22, 23 kids. We end up in the same spot we are this year. So we start at the same number and we end at the same number. So it is the recommendation at this point not to look at moving any neighborhoods because it's very disruptive. And if you could there's a neighborhood or two, you might be able to move 20 or 30 students, but it doesn't really reduce the enrollment or sections at Elementary South in a way that helps it, and it increases the numbers at Aspen and doesn't help it too much in that. What we've also noticed is that I shared with you kindergarten going into first grade. First grade has 6 sections. It's scheduled to drop to 5. There's a classroom. Fifth grade's going out as a bubble class, 6 sections, is going to drop to 5. We're confident it's going to stay at 5. It's not going to have a chance. We actually have 2 physical classrooms that are available if we had increases in enrollment in kindergarten. Like I said, we're watching that number very closely. We know 3 have said they're not coming back. We may have to add a teacher to first grade, but we actually have 2 physical classrooms that those additions could be made without causing additional stress to the building. If you recall, last year we added portables because there were just no more physical spaces. So it is the recommendation at this point to not move a neighborhood. Plan A would be not to move a neighborhood, use those empty classrooms when they, if something was needed. And if we were to have a significant growth, something were to change, you could take the portables, use them as classrooms, and then put art on a cart and go around the building. But I don't think that's going to happen because you would have to gain over 100 students, more than what you have right now. So we feel as though it's best to just let this continue. They've operated safely. They've operated well. It is tight. It is full. But we think it's best to just let this proceed at this point as we're losing our bubble classes. That's the information on that. If there are any questions, further questions?
Were there any other options that have been looked at, including if we happen to get a larger influx than anticipated over the summer, additional trailers?
Yeah, I mean, if I think what we would do is we'd use the 2 available. If we got much larger, we'd look at the existing portables, possibly put art on a cart. But at that point, I would come back and ask the board and say, would you like to put art on a cart? Or we could invest in another trailer or 2 trailers and put them on campus. We've identified some sites. James Staples has gone and identified some sites for all the buildings if we needed to do some form of a portable. So that would sort of be the plan C. I would recommend to move the art and not add the additional trailer. But if needed, we could add another trailer to that site and then incorporate that way.
Oh.
Thank you.
Okay. Next is the technology lease for devices.
We had a lot of great work in preparing for one-to-one personalized learning. We've been working on this for a year. This is the actual lease for the with Dell for the devices to be coming in. So this is just presenting you the information. If there are any questions, again, you can ask them here or email them. Would be asking for formal approval to activate that lease at the second meeting in May. And then they would come in and we would be ready to go. It falls within the guidelines and the structures we talked about through the process.
A interest-free lease for 3 years.
Oh.
You say, what's the points free 3?
That's just the payment rate. You're paying a third.
A third, okay.
Yeah. I was caught by that too, and I'm like, then I did the calculations and realized there's no interest.
Which is interesting and promising. We like that.
The next is the technology acceptable use policy and responsible use policy.
Thank you. You have 2, actually. One is the technology acceptable use policy. It's our existing policy. The attorneys have provided some adjustments, changes, so it can support a one-to-one learning environment. Again, this will be brought to this meeting on the 22nd for formal approval, but this provides the policy and coverage of that for us to go one-to-one. The acceptable use policy really is going to be an acceptable use agreement. It is not a policy. It is a sort of administrative guideline, a form. I have a few small changes in wording, but nothing that changes the meaning of it. That one actually doesn't need board approval, but I will bring it on the 22nd as well for you to see. And the idea is that the parents and the students will watch a care and feeding of a Chromebook and how to take care of it. It's kind of like when they look through their handbook and they read about the rules, they sign off that, yes, they understand how to take care of their Chromebook. They understand it's their responsibility to charge it. They understand that if it's lost or stolen or broken, they're responsible for it, and those types of things, some basics. So we're very excited with the lease and the policy and the acceptable use agreement. Those are the last 3 pieces to make the one-to-one come alive next year, so we're very excited.
Want any discussion on the agreement?
Pardon me?
You want
Yeah.
discussion on the agreement?
If you
or-
have any questions or,
I have a couple of comments. This you have in front of you.
I'm looking for my copy of it.
This is the district-owned technology agreement.
Mm-hmm.
Jason, can you speak or move that thing? I can't hear you.
You want me to speak louder?
Yes,
Like
please.
that?
Thank
Okay.
you. I couldn't hear you when you looked away.
Let me see if I can find my copy.
You sent it in an email.
Right. Okay, the access to electronic networks?
No, this is the one titled district-owned technology agreement. Is that?
The agreement, not the policy.
Oh, the agreement, yes, I'm
Agreement.
sorry, go right ahead.
This is what everybody has to sign in order to pick up the
Correct.
the Chromebook. I just got just a handful of clarification points.
And what are your questions? Well, I'm trying to find it quickly here. I've lost it off my.
It's in the packet too.
Yeah, I'm having trouble signing onto the packet with my new computer. If I had my old computer, I'd sign right up and find it, and so I apologize. I didn't bring that in, didn't bring in with me.
You got a new one?
You got a Jason is like, no, you got a new one.
Yeah, my other one was 5 years old and starting to.
You want me to email it to you?
Let me look for it. Yeah.
I have a
You can
paper
email it
copy.
to you.
Oh, yeah, that'd be great.
Paper, paper.
There's a paper
Oh,
copy.
thank you. I apologize. I normally have
Thanks,
this right.
Vince.
You're welcome.
Secretary to the rescue. Yes, what is your?
Madam Secretary.
He's got a hard copy.
Jason, your question, since I got a copy.
So the first paragraph,
Mhm.
where it talks about students having no expectation of privacy, that occurs twice there as well as at the very bottom of the policy. And I think we should add to that while using any district-owned network, hardware, or district-provided account, because they can access their Google Mail, their student account from a non-district piece of hardware on a non-district network. So if they send an email from the library's computer using the library's network, they should also not expect any privacy there either, correct?
On any district account or
Yeah,
documents
so
or
if they're
whatever.
using a district account, district network, or district equipment, then they should not expect any privacy. So that occurs twice, here as well as at the very bottom.
Okay. I will look at making that change.
Second point. All right, it's the section 1.3 fines and fees.
Mm-hmm.
So the first part is if you don't return it, you'll be charged a fee, right?
Mhm.
But then the last sentence of the last paragraph says that failure to return will result in a theft report filed with the Vernon Hills Police Department. It's only failure to return and not paying that fee. If they don't return it, they can pay the fee and everything's okay. We're not going to file a police report, right?
I see what you're saying. So I'm not going to return it, but I'm going to pay for it.
Yeah.
If
If you
I
lost
lost
it,
it, I have to pay for it.
Right. Yeah.
Right now,
Yeah.
as it's written,
Mm.
it just says failure to return the Chromebook will result in a theft report filed with the police department.
Good point.
Yep. All right.
Yeah.
We don't want to do that.
We don't.
Yeah.
Don't make me do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
All
should
right.
tell them, don't make me do that.
Yeah, we'll just change the title to this: fines, fees, and don't make me do that. Yeah, I'll look at getting that clarified.
So this next comment is in general about caring for the Chromebook when something's broken. So if something breaks, we need to distinguish the difference between the Chromebook just breaking because it just broke. The memory died, the battery's dead, the display, card is gone. Something that's not of the fault of the student. That the district will take care of, right? They return it back to us, we repair it, everything's okay. So throughout this section of 2, it talks about, well, if they damage it, then they're responsible for it. But it's not clear what type of damage and how we're going to determine it. You've got a section here, like if they spill water on it,
Right.
okay, it's going to break. But what happens if the same breakage could occur just because it's electronics and it just died?
But
How are we going to
if
make that
damage
type of
would,
distinction?
connotation for me for damage is that you've done something to it that's caused it to break. What you're saying is sort of normal wear and tear usage.
How would we know? So if a student brings you the laptop and says, it's not turning on, we would take it and try to fix it, right? But if it didn't turn on because they spilt their Coke on it and wiped it off and we can't tell, we're still not going to know, right? It's just kind of is it visible damage? Obviously, if it's a cracked screen, we can see that. You probably dropped it or hit it or did something to it, threw a ball at it. But if it just stops working, it's kind of one of those gray areas of how do we...
Yeah, so if they spill a Coke on it and we open it up because it doesn't work, we're going to find residue inside. They're not going to clean that all up. So ultimately, let me see if I can find some wording that suggests, that goes with the damage. And an unintentional, you broke it, damaged it in some way.
Student-caused
normal
damage.
Wear and tear, if there's an issue with normal wear and tear, which it's worn out of some sort. Let me see if I can find some language to cover that because they do come with some break and fix warranty type of things that come with it. So we would look at that.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, that just throughout, just make sure that we can clear that up just a bit.
Sure. Okay.
All I have. That's it.
Okay.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I had a couple questions that I emailed you. Was it part of that response you gave with the IGA responses? Because I didn't see it, but
I don't know.
there were a lot of responses all at once. It's okay. They're quick. I can probably just repeat them. In the section about checking out a Chromebook that's a loaner, or in the case of, let's say, it's been used before because after year 1, some of these kids are going to get reissued Chromebooks. Is there a plan for noting the pre-existing damage on there, like a loaner car would?
Yeah, kind of like if you go rent a car. So we get one back, it's got a scratch on it. We would note Google Chromebook number 23 scratched, something of that sort. Yeah.
And then in the case that a Chromebook goes to more than one home, like if a child's parents are divorced and they're splitting custody or something, who's going to be responsible for signing this agreement and upholding it? Both parents, just the one with legal custody? If damage happens in one home, I can imagine the other one saying, I don't want to deal with it.
We would go with whoever has legal custody, and then if it's 50-50, we may ask them both.
Okay.
So let's say it's legal custody and it's damaged. It'll be between them to sort out, but we would try to go with the one that.
Okay. So we may want to specify in there who is expected to sign that.
Sure.
Rather than just parent or guardian, it should be parent or legal guardian or something like that.
But if it's both of them, it's a joint custody, then shouldn't both sign, or do we not normally ask them to sign?
They might have joint legal custody, but oftentimes there's joint physical custody, but somebody has legal custody at a different percentage. So I'm just saying I don't want to get into a situation where the district's dealing with he said, she said, and nobody's paying us. And
Right. I'll see if I can clarify that for folks. And many times you have somebody that's been identified as the educational decision.
Right.
That's where we.
Okay, that's it for me.
I apologize if I missed those.
That's all right.
Okay.
Anything else?
I had a couple comments. So if I understand this correctly, the student returns it over the summer, and do they get the same one back?
Yeah, we're working out that detail right now. Now, so they return it. We want them to get the same one each year. There'll be issues in which we may want some students to keep it through the summer because of either summer school, extended learning, things of that sort. So we're the initial thought was that we would collect them in the summer and then give them back. Conversations with the principals and that's migrating a little bit. That we think there's some kids that definitely are going to need it, and the ability to collect them and give them back. There's man hours involved in that where we might think about letting them keep them through the summer and do some online opportunities. But initially, it is collect it. You turn in number one, you're going to get number one the next year. Try to get it right back to the same person.
So the agreement would have to be adjusted if
Right.
you change that part of it.
Right.
Okay. And another comment I had is there's numerous instances where if something happens, it says the student is subject to consequences. And I think I'd like that to be a little bit more specific rather than just say consequences, something like subject to disciplinary action or loss of privileges or something like that. Consequences just seems kind of vague and not really too significant to me.
Sure.
So it's throughout the agreement there. That's all I had.
Okay.
I had a question, which was something we had discussed during when we were going to one-to-one, and it had come up when we were discussing all the controls that we were going to put in. I didn't see it in the agreement, is if the students don't have Wi-Fi access, and we had talked about it, of how to provide some of our, free and reduced and lower income students with Wi-Fi. So is there something in it for, are we going to provide something like them,
Yeah, it wouldn't be in here or in the policy, but we would work with Comcast offers a low cost, like $10. We would do what we could to try to get those folks connected. Also let them know where there's free Wi-Fi availability, but we'll be pushing out information from Comcast that does it.
and that doesn't have to
No,
be
it
in this.
doesn't, no.
Okay, I just
It
wanted to
would-
confirm that.
It would be information that we would get out to the parents and let them know if you don't have Wi-Fi, here's a way to do it, here's an affordable way to do it. And then also, here are the locations that you can go for free Wi-Fi that they may find acceptable for their children.
No, I just wanted to make sure that it didn't need to be in the.
Right.
Anybody else? The next one is summer work 2017 bid.
Yes, included in your packet is the summer bid packet. Let me pull it up. This is for summer work this coming summer as part of the health, life, safety work that we talked about early in the, I guess, late in the winter. And we did send the bid packet out to 12 general contractors and had them come to our pre-bid meeting and walk through to show them all the work that needed to be done. These general contractors work with subcontractors. So the different trades, whether it's painting or mechanical work, they seek out bids to put their bid together. And unfortunately, we only received one bid back during the bid opening. We were quite surprised. We did work with Jason Meyering, who works with Jason Lemke at DLR, to check references on the one vendor, and they did come back as very good references. He spoke to 3 of them. 2 of them indicated, we also asked him to reach out to the other vendors and find out why many of them didn't actually bid on the summer work. 2 of them indicated they didn't have a complete package because 4 of the mechanical subcontractors were all tied up for the summer. It was mainly due to timing. 2 of the other vendors indicated too many of the subcontractors had too much work and weren't able to bid on it. So obviously it's a very busy season. Many of them already had work under contract and weren't able to fit it into their schedule. We did go out to bid in early March, which is within the time frame we normally go out. We usually go out mid-February to early March after we determine what we're going to be doing during the summer. So I would recommend maybe next year going out a little bit earlier if the economy is picking up and folks are doing more work. It is worth noting that the cost of the work did come in within 3% of our engineers' prediction. They do a cost estimate on the work, so it wasn't out of line. It's not like it's 20 or 30% more than we had projected. Otherwise, I would recommend that we maybe put it off, but it is in line with our what we had projected. The base bid amount of $478,000 is the lowest responsible qualified bidder. It is with construction, consulting, and disbursement services. They utilize, again, subcontractors. This is to provide accessibility improvements, life safety improvements, exterior refinishing, interior refinishing, and mechanical equipment replacement at District Office, Elementary North, Middle North, Town Line, John Power Center, the 4 rooms that we do own on that side, and Aspen Elementary, as well as Middle South. And we recommend we move forward with it. The listing of the work is in the bid packet. It's not detailed, but I can provide more detail if you like. I did get one question today about the district office. We are doing painting and patching here. Generally, when you see interior finishes, that's generally painting and patching work. But we're doing some mechanical pump replacements and fire door replacements as well. And this will be paid out of our capital projects fund using capital reserve study money that we have. Ready to take any questions at this time?
Didn't we do some painting ourselves one
We've
summer?
done quite a bit of painting ourselves, and some of these are the higher ceiling areas and the more difficult areas to do. But we've typically saved a lot of money by doing some of it ourselves. But there are portions.
And would we have been better served bidding these out separate, like the painting separate from the mechanical work?
Well, we want somebody to supervise the work, so we do generally look with the general contractor for the larger projects, because we don't have the manpower to supervise 12 different trades going on. So it may have helped us get more bids if we bid it all separately, but then we have 12 different trades working at 12 different times, so it becomes more difficult.
Thanks.
Sure.
Anybody else?
Do you know what portion of that was towards the district office?
No, it's pretty minor. They didn't break down the bid dollar-wise. It comes back as a package, as a complete package, so we don't know the total dollar amount dedicated to each portion.
Okay.
But I mean, I can certainly look at the.
Well, I'm just sort of curious, because if it's a safety issue or a health quality issue, that's different. But if it's, throwing on a fresh coat of paint and it's not a space that benefits the students, I'm not as inclined to do it. But if it's only going to be $1,400, it's not going to matter in the long run.
It's probably not a large portion of it. Looking at the scope of the work,
Okay.
the bigger portion is pump replacement, mechanical pump replacement.
Okay.
Those trades. It's not painting isn't typically a large dollar amount or so.
Okay.
I would like, as you said, detail, like when it says mechanical, are we changing the boiler? Are we changing,
I can
venting or,
I can send the breakdown of the items that we bid out in a little more detail.
Yeah, just like you said, it comes as a whole package, and I understand. But are we replacing brakes? Are we replacing grout when we say external work? Like what are we doing? Would be just helpful to know if it is necessary or is it slightly bit cosmetic. But as Robin mentioned, if it's cosmetic and it's not a huge significant amount, do it. But we want to keep
the issue with this is we bid it as a package, so we can't necessarily.
No, I understand, but I just want to know what is the external, what is or even mechanical. There's so many different things. So
all right, I will forward that to the board. What it will include is all the work that we had as a piece of it. There will be some stuff that's lined out, and then we'll have the engineer's projected cost for that. It won't have our actual cost breakdown, but it will have the engineer's cost in a little bit more detail as to what is being done. Okay.
That ends our meeting as committee of the whole. So we'll go into the business meeting. Do we have any public comments? Anybody wish to make a public comment for business meeting? No? Okay. I had a question for the board members. I just wanted to know if all your questions were answered by Nick for the employee on the consent agenda, and if anybody had any more questions they wanted to go into closed session for? Okay, then we can move on to consent agenda. So the consent agenda consists of board minutes from April 24th, 2017, closed session minutes from April 20th, 2017, personnel new hire, Mr. Abe Singh, who will be the Director of Finance and Business Operations. Still not happy saying that, but okay. Resignation.
Yeah, Brad. Just saying.
I get it.
Resignation by Ms. Amanda Brandt. She's an ELL teacher at Elementary South. Leave of absence by Ms. Megan Cabby, first grade teacher at Aspen. The ESP report, and the 2017-2018 prevailing wages. Any discussion? Can I get a motion?
Did you want to go into closed session for any of these?
No, I just wanted to ask
Oh,
if
okay.
anybody wanted to go in. Needs to be a consensus.
I know, I thought we were supposed to make a formal motion if somebody wanted to go into closed session, that somebody had to second it, or I could be making that all up.
No, they do, but
You.
it appears that nobody wants to.
Someone wanted to, they would have to make a motion.
No, I know, I
second.
just didn't know if that was Sonali's way of making a motion, you know what I mean?
Oh.
I'll do a better job
was
about
not
it next
a
time,
motion.
sorry. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move that the Board of Education approve the consent agenda items as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Robin, seconded by Julie. Since it contains expenditure report, can we get a roll call vote?
Jason Tron?
I don't see any expenditure.
Sorry?
I said aye, I just didn't see any expenditure reports. I didn't.
No, not expenditure, sorry, since it's a
It's an expense of district funds.
expense of
With the
district
hire.
funds, sorry.
Which one, the prevailing wages?
The new hire.
Well, new hire.
And new hire too.
Okay. Julie Simpson?
Aye.
Jeff Bard?
Aye.
Robin Cleek?
Aye.
Wes Poland? Aye. Matt Jacobs?
Aye.
Sonali Patel?
Aye. The motion passes 7 ayes, 0 nay.
Mr. Singh will be here on the 22nd to be formally introduced for you to meet. Thank you.
The next action item is the 2017-2018 paper bid.
It is, just to make you aware, it is incorrect on the motion on your agenda is incorrect. I've updated it for Sonali to accurately reflect the this year's bid. I had sent the incorrect information to Gloria, and she determined it was incorrect and updated it, and I thought she copied both Wendy and I on it, but she only copied me on it, so I've updated it for Sonali for the motion.
I can make the motion?
Yes.
Okay. So I move that the Board of Education approve contract paper group to provide paper for the district at the cost of $52,338. This is 2,440 cases of 8.5 by 11 inches virgin white 20-pound paper at $21.45 per case. Do I have a
I
second?
second.
Motion by Sonali, seconded by Robin. Since this is an expenditure item, expense of district funds, could I get a roll call vote?
Jason Tron?
Aye.
Julie Simpson?
Aye.
Jeff Bard?
Aye.
Robin Cleek?
Aye.
Wes Poland? Aye. Matt Jacobs?
Aye.
Sonali Patel?
Aye. The motion passes 7 ayes, 0 nays. The next one is President's Report. I have. Okay. So the registration for all the students for 2017-2018 is open. This is for new as well as already enrolled students. Fees have to be paid at the time of registration to be enrolled, to the registration to be complete. There will be 3 dates for residency verification in August. Middle North Science Olympiad placed 7th in state amongst 48 schools. 1 team placed 2nd, 2 teams placed 3rd, and 3 teams placed 4th. Townline Science Olympiad for the Illinois Elementary Science Olympiad. 13 schools competed with 13 schools. 3 teams placed first, 1 team placed second, and 1 team placed third. We would like to thank, the Board of Education would like to thank all the parent volunteers who make the Science Olympiad possible, as well as all the teachers who do the coordination and the extra work and effort beyond their time that is required. Elementary South celebrated the STEM Day. This was the first event sponsored by the Hawthorn Education Foundation, led by Dr. Jill Martin. And I'd like to thank all the PTO and parent volunteers for the fabulous Teachers Appreciation Week that they celebrated last week.
Well, I can see the tradition continues that the board president, and it takes almost, no. I remember Jeff used to do the same thing, like, all right, I'm done, no. But I would like to also recognize that the Science Olympiad for Townline, we did have a formal competition, part of Science Olympiad, but we also had an event on the second at Townline in which we had many volunteers come and help judge in preparation for the official. So thank you to everybody that helped volunteer and judge and do that just at Townline. That's always a fun and exciting event with many, many activities. I got to judge the paper airplane second year in a row. That's always a fun one to do. Also want to remind folks that on May 12th, Middle School North will be holding the annual Civil War Day. There will be loud booms to start and conclude the reenactment of Civil War. Now, the loud booms actually are louder than Mr. Collins when he's doing his woot woot. So that will be going on. So just want to make sure everybody's aware of that. It is pretty exciting to see. Also on the 12th and the 13th of May, Middle School North will present Beauty and the Beast at 7 p.m. And if you haven't had a chance to see some of our plays, I recommend you stop by and see it. Very talented students in all our buildings putting these shows on. We announced the Science Olympiad, 5 out of 7 events. They earned 3 first place, 1 second place, and 1 third place. I did a nice job. Some highlights, Townline Open House, grades K through 5, at 6:30 to 8 p.m. on the 10th. Early release day is on the 11th. The 16th is Middle School Open House at 6 p.m. On the 17th is Middle North's Open House. The time is to be determined. The 18th, Townline and Dual Language 5th grade Spring Musicals at 7 p.m. On the 18th is Aspen and Elementary South's 4th and 5th grade band concerts, Aspen Gym at 7 p.m. On the 19th, Middle School South's 8th grade dance in the Middle School Gym, 6 to 8 p.m. And on the 19th, Middle School North's 8th grade dance in the Middle School North Gym from 6 to 8 p.m. And so sometimes they put out calls for volunteers. I think they got everybody they need, but that goes very, very well. And let's see here, Thursday, May 25th at 2017, the Middle School North Awards Program at 7 p.m. And the Middle School South's award program is at 7 p.m. as well for
Ask for people to come.
We need volunteers from the board to come. There is a letter for the board inviting you to come and participate in these things. Also on June 1st is the middle school promotion ceremonies. Middle North will start at 6, and Middle South will start at 8, and those are at the Vernon Hills High School. But you do have an invitation to come to the awards programs at 7 p.m. on the 25th of this month, both middle schools.
And I'm going to cut in and
Yes.
at the award ceremony, you hand out the awards. It's a fun night, so please come. I need a volunteer for the promotion ceremony.
What kind of volunteer?
To speak.
Oh, not it.
Wes, come on.
Not it.
Somebody to give.
I am not a seasoned board member. Maybe next year.
Seasoned board members. One.
I'm not seasoned. This is seasoned.
You're seasoned too?
Jeff is seasoned.
I've had 2 last 2 years. I need to let others take the opportunity to enjoy that.
But you're so
moment.
good.
Am I allowed to borrow anybody else's speech? No, I'm just kidding.
Jason's.
You can have mine from 2 years ago.
There's no chance any of these parents have a kid who's also in this year.
Somebody? Anybody?
No, I want you to do it.
I'm doing one. I want somebody else to do another one. I'll do one.
But if you do both, you can use the same one because it's a different set of schools.
I mean,
You're set.
There you go.
Jeff, come on.
We can decide between now and then.
Okay, we'll decide.
Which school is first?
Middle North.
Yeah.
Which one are you taking, Sonali?
Which one the other one doesn't take? I'll be nice.
Oh.
Please let
I
Wendy
feel
know
like
if
Matt
you're
has a
going
lot to say.
Okay,
Just a couple of things. Also, in your packet of information, I did include an article, Breaking Language Barriers, and it talked about teaching students in their home language and how that improves the academics as well as the acquisition of English. Thought that was an interesting article. I thought this year I would try to do a little bit better job of putting some information in your folders for you when you have on some items that we may be working on in the board. And also, you have the board induction program. Thank you to Robin for working on that. It kind of outlines, we now have a more formal process. My first year we came, it was sign a mentor and call if you need something. So it's become more formalized. I am working with, again, Robin and I met, we're working on a little way to maybe assess the program and the value that you feel it brings to helping you transition on the board. So those are some things in your packet for you to review. Board agreements. I forgot the board agreements. I will email you the board agreements that we have created as a board previously, and I apologize. I knew there was something I was forgetting today besides the policy. So we will get the board agreements emailed to you tomorrow. It gives just the outline of agreements between the superintendent and board members on how to proceed. It's part of the training that you'll get in August. I think we have our training in August with Barb Tony.
Yes.
Right. So it is part of that. It's created there. But
one of the things I wanted to tell to the new board members was the required training that is required for Open Meetings Act, PARA, and PDL. And a couple of them are also now online. If you're crunched for time and can't go somewhere, it isn't normally a half a day, full day meetings. But if you can't, it is online sessions too now. When you get your certificate, you just need to give it to Wendy to file it under because we need to show it the classes which you have taken. We have a closed session immediately following the meeting. But before we adjourn, for 6 years?
No, just 4.
4 years as board president.
thank you. He didn't throw it once.
He wanted.
Okay.
So now
Sneak it in. Okay. So we'll be going into closed session for the purchase or lease of real property for the use of the public body, including meetings held for the purpose of discussing whether a particular parcel should be acquired. 5 ILCS 120-2C5. Could I get a motion to adjourn?
Could I just ask a question before we
Sure.
adjourn? When is the next financial advisory task force, and do we have
Thursday.
a volunteer for that group?
It's Thursday.
This Thursday?
Yeah.
Okay.
We don't need to adjourn.
Huh?
We just go into closed session.
We just go into closed session.
If we
close it at
adjourn,
the
then
end
we
of
have to
that.
open up an open meeting and then go into closed session.
We're not.
So-
You're looking for a motion to go into closed session, not
Right.
adjourn.
Okay. You'll make a motion to go into closed session.
Okay, but you do need someone to go Thursday to the financial advisory task force. Or you should have somebody.
But aren't you there already? Or do we
What's that?
do we get new volunteers every time? I don't know.
We typically look each year for a volunteer, but I think you and Jeff were.
Yeah, I didn't know if I needed to look.
Okay, that's
Okay.
fine.
Okay.
I was just asking when it was. I wasn't sure.
It's Thursday at 6:30.
This Thursday.
I'll
Okay.
send out a reminder tomorrow with an agenda.
I second the motion to go into closed session.
Okay. Motion by.
You made
Yeah.
the motion.
Motion by Sonali, seconded by Jeff. All in favor?
Aye.
No. To go into closed session, it's got to be an individual voice.
Okay. Get a roll call.
Jason Tron,
Aye.
Julie Simpson,
Aye.
Jeff Bard,
Aye.
Robin Cleek,
Aye.
Wes Poland, aye. Matt Jacobs,
Aye.
Sonali Patel.
Aye.
Okay. We're going to
7
closed
ayes,
session.
yeah.
Hold on,
I need to write this down.
Yeah, it's really hard to remember all those things.
and stop at the bathroom. Huh? I think I'm gonna
What's that?
Hey, Dimitri, can I borrow you for 1 second?
We'll just walk back here and then make a motion to adjourn closed session. Adjourn the closed. It's so technical.